All right, strap in because today's deep dive is a wild one. We're talking Elon Musk, government spending, and a whole lot of questions that'll make you wonder what's going on here. We've got articles, analyses, the works. Get ready because this is going to be interesting.
What I find fascinating is how these sources paint a picture that goes way beyond just one company or one CEO.
Yeah.
We're talking about innovation, accountability, the role of government in the 21st century, all that good stuff.
We're going to kick things off with something I know you appreciate, good old pop culture. Remember when every marketing expert was convinced Elon had no clue what he was doing with the Cybertruck?
The Cybertruck, talk about defying expectations. While everyone else was busy being confused, Elon was tapping into something much more, shall we say, organic.
And I don't mean accidentally went viral. Rappers don't just randomly slap cars onto their album covers.
Exactly. Dab baby, millions of followers. Boom, Cybertruck right there on the cover art. And it doesn't stop there. Meek Mill drops a whole track called Cybertruck. No sponsorships here. This is about embedding yourself in the culture.
So Tesla basically got millions in free advertising just by not existing. That's some next-level marketing genius right there.
Genius, but unconventional. Musk gets it. He understands the power of cultural capital. It's not just a truck, it's a statement. You see it, you want it, it's part of that aspirational world. And what's really interesting is how different this is from your typical ad campaign. He's not shoving a product down people's throats. He tapped into existing desires. Let the product speak for itself.
It's like he cracked the code of going viral without it feeling forced. And speaking of aspiration, let's shift gears from trucks to something even bigger, space exploration. We've got these quotes from Trump, and let me tell you, the man was all in on SpaceX.
Trump's vision, at least what he articulated in these speeches, put SpaceX right at the forefront of a new space race. He even talked about getting to Mars while he was in office, quite a contrast to how the current administration sees things.
Contrast, might be putting it mildly, Trump was practically putting SpaceX in his victory speeches. Meanwhile, Biden's dropping hints about investigations looking into Musk's dealings. It's two completely different games, different rule books, everything. But before we get into all that, I want to circle back to Starlink for a sec. Might seem like a jump, but it all ties in, trust me. So we've got Trump championing SpaceX, right? Well, his administration also threw a massive $42 billion towards that rural broadband initiative.
Yes, the Rural Broadband Initiative. A lot of money, no doubt. But the numbers we're seeing, zero, as in zero households connected. And this is where things get really interesting. You've got the government pouring billions into these old school infrastructure projects, and then you've got Starlink, potentially way more cost effective, but seemingly left out in the cold.
Left out is an understatement. They practically slammed the door in their face.
For anyone listening who's not familiar, what is it about Starlink's tech that makes it potentially so much better, especially in rural areas?
Okay, so your traditional broadband, it relies on cables, physical infrastructure.
Yeah.
Starlink, they're using satellites. Beam that internet access straight down to users. Think about rural areas, remote places. Laying cables is expensive. It's a logistical nightmare. Starlink bypasses all that. It's a potential game changer for connecting people, especially those who've been left behind. But despite all that potential, they were excluded from the initiative. It's mind-boggling. You've got this groundbreaking technology just sitting there, ready to revolutionize how people connect, and it's sidelined. Makes you wonder what's really going on behind the scenes. And speaking of behind the scenes, we can't talk about this broadband initiative without mentioning the person seemingly running the show.
Kamala Harris. Her involvement here has definitely sparked some debate, to put it mildly. And the sources we're looking at, they don't mince words about her leadership.
Flawless incompetence, they called it. And look, I try to be fair, but when you look at her track record, not just with this broadband thing, but with the border, with AI, it starts to paint a bit of a pattern.
A pattern that raises serious questions about accountability, right? We're talking about the highest levels of government. If billions in taxpayer dollars are being spent with nothing to show for it, shouldn't someone be asking some tough questions? Shouldn't there be some responsibility taken? Which leads us to a question I never thought I'd be asking. Could Elon Musk be the answer to government waste?
Hold on, are you suggesting Elon Musk working in the government? Because that sounds like either a recipe for total disaster or the start of a very, very interesting experiment.
These sources, they're proposing something radical, a government efficiency commission, and leading it Elon Musk. Imagine his laser focus, his obsession with cutting costs, streamlining everything,
Yeah.
applied to the federal
Wait, hold up. Elon Musk, like as a government official, filing paperwork, attending hearings. Okay, now that image is both hilarious and kind of terrifying.
Yeah, unconventional, absolutely. But think about it. Who better to shake up a system that's basically built on bureaucracy than the guy who built his empire on disrupting everything?
Okay, I'll bite. Elon Musk, leading a cost-cutting crusade through government agencies. That's a fascinating, if slightly terrifying thought experiment. But let's be real. The man has more companies than I have pairs of socks. Would he even have time for this?
And that's what makes this even more interesting. This might not be as crazy as it sounds. There's talk, speculation that a certain former president, if he were returned to office, might see Musk as the ultimate weapon against government waste. It wouldn't be about Elon getting bogged down in the day-to-day. It'd be about using his expertise for a top-down overhaul.
So we're not talking about Elon pushing paperclips. We're talking about Elon as, I don't know, the disruptor in chief, bringing that Silicon Valley move fast and break things mentality to DC.
Exactly. Imagine the impact. Musk auditing government contracts, finding redundancies, demanding accountability for every dollar spent. It'd send shockwaves through the whole system.
I can only imagine the reaction from career politicians and bureaucrats. Be like unleashing a hurricane on a stack of old newspapers. But even if, and it's a big if, even if something like that were to happen, wouldn't there be massive pushback? Elon's a polarizing figure, say the least.
Which is where this whole Elon derangement syndrome thing comes in. This idea, it's used to describe what some people see as an irrational hatred for Elon Musk. Like a lot of the criticism he gets, it's not really about what he does. It's about a deliberate effort to discredit him.
Wait, are you saying there's a coordinated smear campaign against Elon Musk? Who would be behind something like that and why?
The sources point to a bunch of factors. Media bias, political agendas that Musk's ambitions might threaten, even entire industries that his companies are disrupting. Think about Tesla. If electric vehicles become the norm, what happens to the oil and gas industry? If SpaceX revolutionizes space travel, what happens to those big aerospace contractors who rely on government contracts?
So it's not just about Elon, it's about controlling the narrative, shaping how the public sees anyone who dares to challenge the powers that be.
Exactly. Think about it. If the media can convince people that someone like Musk, who's achieved incredible things, if they can convince people he's the bad guy, it's easier to dismiss anything he says, no matter how good his ideas might be.
That's a chilling thought, but it makes a weird kind of sense. Control the information, you control the perception, and if Elon's getting in the way of certain agendas, well, let's just say he becomes a very convenient target.
And that's exactly why it's so important to think critically. Look beyond the headlines, the sound bites. Who benefits from painting Elon Musk in a negative light? What agendas are they pushing? Those are the questions we need to be asking.
This is getting kind of meta, isn't it?
Yeah.
This feels bigger than just Elon Musk or government waste. This feels like, I don't know, power, influence, the whole battle for the future.
You're spot on. These things, Elon Musk, government inefficiency, technological innovation, they're all connected in a much bigger picture.
Okay, I'm ready to zoom out a bit. We've talked about Elon Musk potentially causing chaos, potentially saving the day, but where does that leave us? What are we supposed to take away from all of this?
The big takeaway, nothing is ever black and white. Elon Musk, he's complicated.
So where do we go from here? I mean, is there any way out of this mess? The government seems so inefficient, and then there are these decisions like with Starlink that just make you scratch your head to put Elon Musk in charge of fixing it.
Yeah, a government efficiency task force led by Elon Musk. It's definitely outside the box thinking.
It almost feels like something out of a movie. Yeah.
Right. But it speaks to that theme we've been talking about, disrupting the way things are done. Musk, with all his experience, with his track record of shaking things up, maybe he's the only one who can actually break through the gridlock. Musk's whole style, his directness, his dislike for bureaucracy, he just wants to see results. And maybe that's exactly what a system that's drowning in paperwork and political games needs, right? A fresh perspective.
It's a fascinating idea, I'll give him that. But it makes you wonder if even someone like Elon Musk, with all his money, with his influence, if he can't navigate this stuff, what chance do the rest of us have? when it comes to making a real difference?
I think that's the question the source really wants us thinking about. To look beyond just the headlines, the controversies, and really grapple with how power works, how innovation happens or doesn't happen. Are we as a society ready for truly new ideas? Even if they come from, well, let's say unconventional places, and what role do each of us want to play in building that future? One where progress isn't just a buzzword, but something we can actually achieve.
It's a question worth pondering, for sure. And that's a great place to leave it. So where does that leave us? If it's not about Elon Musk, if it's not just about wasteful spending, what are people supposed to do with all this? What's the takeaway?
Question everything. That's what these sources are telling us. Don't just accept what you hear, whether it's from politicians, the media, or even a tech CEO. Dig deeper, look for the motivations, and most importantly, stay engaged?
Engaged, you mean?
Yeah.
Hold people accountable, demand better.
Exactly. Informed citizens, people who are willing to ask tough questions and demand better, that's what makes a difference. Because at the end of the day, it's not about blind faith, it's about participation. That's how we get innovation, that's how we get good government.
I'll be honest, this deep dive, I don't feel like just some guy listening anymore. I feel like, I don't know, some kind of investigative journalist. Or someone who's going to be asking a lot more questions from now on.
That's how it starts, right?
Yeah.
Curiosity, challenging assumptions, that's how we change things.
Well said. I think I need another cup of coffee after that. Lots to think about, that's for sure. Innovation, power, the future we're creating.
Keep those questions coming. And remember, never underestimate a good deep dive.